When the pandemic hit, Jason Slavik decided it was his responsibility, his imperative to produce art. His theater company, Liars and Believers, has become a streaming machine, pushing out serialized Shakespeare, dramatic shorts, and radio plays. Here's a look at this week's new piece, Ted and Marie.
Beautiful sun here.
What's that? Louder! It's the rush hour, my love. Your words must blazon a fiery trail to my waiting ears. Damn the chariots!
Jason Slavik, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. I'm glad to see you. Glad to be here.
Let me just start by asking, for people who don't know Liars and Believers, it's a very deliberate choice in name. It spells out lab, which is part of your mission. Tell us what that mission is. So
our mission is to really push the boundary of what live theater can be. Sort of ironic in this era. So we use mask and puppet and clown and live music and really trying to change the face of what theater looks like here in Boston.
Well, what does it look like right now? You've found yourself, right? You found yourself in this moment where I think everything is up for grabs, but it's also really hard to make in some regard.
Yeah, it on the one hand, we are in the worst position with this pandemic isolation and the best position. We're in the worst position because we really focus almost exclusively on live physical interaction. Like when we do shows, we almost never use recorded sound. We're so committed to the live thing happening in the moment in shared space and time with the audience. So to suddenly be trapped in this, on these screens, in these two-dimensional forms where we're sitting in space apart from one another and there's no audience, is very, very difficult and undermines everything we've been doing. On the other hand, because we're an ensemble that devises original work together, and because experimentation is in the DNA of the company, we're well positioned to pivot. So that's exactly what we did. We were in the middle of a puppet project when the pandemic hit. And then all of a sudden, boom, we can't touch each other. We can't be near each other. We're not in the same space. And so I just took the company and I said, okay, this is the new world we're in. Let's go make art. And this is what we have. And since we have long relationships with one another, we are used to improvising. We're used to creating. We're used to relying on one another. We just apply it to this new medium.
Thisbe!
My love! Thou art my love, I think.
Think what thou wilt. I am thy lover's grace.
You've been making radio plays, you've done Shakespeare, you're doing serialized work. Have you put limits on yourself, or is it just, how have you decided what to put out and what comes to the fore?
First, we started with radio because that's what I knew best. And then as we started getting settled in, we started thinking, okay, well, what else can we do? What else can we do? And as we've been doing one play after another, we've been pushing on the form.
Arial.
Yeah? Well, just a second. Just still taking in this view.
I kind of have something to ask you.
If this is about that sweater again, I told you.
No, it's not that. What the hell?
So where does theater come into this space when it's on the screen up against other very big screens?
Certainly as a Boston theater company, we are your neighbors. We are the people you see live on stage. We're not strangers from Hollywood or from somewhere else in the world. We are your local artists. And so as we're starting to build these video plays, we're approaching them the way we would approach a set. I can't put an entire garbage dump on the stage. I mean, I guess we could go hunt down a garbage dump, but rather than do that, what's one visual image I can give you? And your imagination fills in all the rest. That's how we approach it in theater, so that's how we're approaching it on the screens.
What are you most excited about in terms of what you've done so far in just the 8 weeks at the point at which we're talking, that you've been able to ramp this up and what you've learned and how far you've come?
You know, I'm really excited by a beautiful little gem called Ted and Marie. It's super, super simple, and it's tiny, and it's this little beautiful glimmer of hope and compassion. I love that little piece.
You had a bad night, Ted.
I don't remember. Do we have any bread left?
You were out here on top of the tires again. The bread's gone.
That's what it was. The bread was gone, so I came out here to air my grievance.
At the top of your lungs.
So a lot of this, we right off the bat started just so everyone would stay sane.
One more time through and we're done for the night.
Because everyone at the beginning was terrified and felt alone and isolated, and we just had to make stuff for us to be okay. And then along with that, we felt like this is something we can share with the public, because I assume other people feel scared and alone. And art can lighten the load and can help you process things. And that's what we can do as artists. We can be creative and make work and make people feel better.
Something else, another piece you've done is the Huns, an audio play, which reminds me of radio plays, something things were huge in the 1940s, but we have returned to them, and I think the podcasts have returned us to them too.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about this time that makes it really, again, of course, people, even before the pandemic, were super into podcasts, but we're back into listening, and we're back into length.
Radio plays free the imagination in a way that video doesn't.
Neither rain, nor snow, nor dark of night.
Neither rain, nor snow, nor dark of night.
Neither rain, nor snow, nor dark of night. What word have you for me, postman?
It is all true. The Huns are coming.
From which direction?
We're not sure.
So you have no accurate measure of their distance?
No, ma'am.
Nor the size of their army?
No, ma'am.
Then how is it, postman, that you come to me with a report of the Huns attacking our country?
To be honest, ma'am, I'm not quite certain.
They trigger your imagination, and it's freeing. Your mind fills out all the things that aren't being presented in front of you. And it's really healthy, I think, to get to exercise that mental muscle, because we don't often.
And finally, I want to ask, you founded your company. I think you're a masochist in some regard, and during the Great Recession, and now we're here. So one might argue that you have good training. Is it good training, and how will you make your way through this?
I launched the company just as the recession hit, and there were like no resources and no money. And so I cut my teeth in the fringe world of like, okay, how can we make the absolute best thing we can make with these very few resources? And I'm just not going to be stopped. And you have to have really thick skin, and you get knocked down a lot, and you hit roadblocks and things fall apart, and you just build up the muscles to get back up. I had a conversation with someone recently who was worried, like, what's going to happen to all the theater companies, and will there ever be theater again, and all the restaurants, and will it all close? And I said, I'm confident that theater will rebound and restaurants will rebound and all those things will happen, because those are artistic expressions that are driven by an internal need to reach out, to create, to explore. We will get ourselves back up, we will make it work, we will figure it out, and we will be alive and kicking more and more now online. And when the doors open, we will be hugely available in whatever safe way there is to reach out and connect with the public.
Well, Jason Slavic from Liars and Believers, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. It's great to chat with you.